Heyo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices. Sorry for the delay.
Studio B as in broken.
Studio B as in broken. Thank you to Lawrence Benedetto for getting us up as quickly as he did. A full CHGO White Sox crew today. We got Vinnie Duber, again, still back from Australia.
Didn't go back.
No, didn't go back.
Although I'll tell you this, stepped off that plane the other day. It was in the 30s here, and I was like, this hemisphere is not going to work for me.
I don't think
Duba, how you doing, Duba? No,
that was more Casey Kasem than Australian, I think, right there.
Moving up 4 spots on the countdown.
See, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it's more Tom Skilling though.
You're bouncing around. You're bouncing around to a lot of dated references.
Kasem is?
I'm assuming a DJ.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I'm Casey Kasem. Then I'm an idiot.
He was on like 3 episodes of Saved by the Bell.
Shout out.
Wow.
That's Herb Lawrence,
Hello.
who appeared on no episodes of Saved by the Bell.
Yet.
Wow, I had to rub it in.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Yes. Still doing a terrible one right now.
No, you can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. And thank you to AJ in the chat who's saying Lawrence broke the show, which is true. Lawrence is
Thanks,
all your fault, Lawrence.
Thanks, AJ. Appreciate you.
We appreciate everyone waiting us out and still joining us in the live chat today. We got some trade options for you. All right. So if the trade market is finally off and running with the deal that sent Sean Murphy to Atlanta, the White Sox should be active soon, right? We'll see what teams they might be trading with or might be looking to take pieces from and add to their team. And we'll be covering 2 signings in the division. 2 catchers have now joined the AL Central. Let's start first with some super chats, though. Stefan Bardo dropping a super chat. Thank you very much. 74 days till spring training. Best they can do is Clev, but 74 days till spring training. It's close.
Isn't that close?
Wow.
It's a single digit number.
It's 2.5 months.
Or a double digit number.
I think it's closer than that though.
Yeah, because it isn't the
report day. I think he's 74 days of the first game, maybe first spring training game.
So you're saying pitchers and catchers is like 60 something?
Yeah, it's like right around Valentine's
Let's
Day
go.
usually. So that's like 2 months from now.
That's awesome. I mean, that's I'm excited. That's like 60 days.
I mean, I guess usually I would be excited, but no activity as yet, so there's nothing really to be excited about. Get me in February, like, yeah, I miss baseball. Let's go. Come on, football just ended. Let's get me a different sport.
You're fine right now. You're good with football and basketball.
I am not missing baseball right now. Not at all.
I am. I don't watch football anymore.
Yeah, I'm Justin Fields is. Yeah, I'm just hoping he doesn't get injured. But outside of that, like, they're not playing for anything.
We don't need a Kyler Murray situation here,
right? I hope they lose. And honestly, they could bench Justin now that the season's over.
There's no chance of them winning. I think they only have 1 game. Maybe they can win.
This is the Bears we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Chicago.
How many games
Bears.
have they won this year?
3.
That's 3 more than I thought they were going to win.
Yeah, I think they got the Eagles this week. They got the Vikings still. I think they got the Lions. All these teams are going to be favorite. And the Bills. Yeah, come on now.
Eagles, Bills, Lions, Vikings.
All maybe playoff teams.
Eagles, Bills, Lions, Vikings.
So
Randall Cunningham,
the potential
Drew Bledsoe, Vikings would be also Dante Culpepper
or Randall Cunningham,
and Lions. Who's the old Lions? Never had a quarterback back in the day.
Eric Hipple,
pre-Stafford. Who was the Lions quarterback? Pre-Stafford.
Who's the guy that they signed from Miami? Who was Dan Marino's backup? Scott Mitchell.
Yeah,
Scott Mitchell back in the 90s. John Kitna.
Or
probably old
Eric
Kramer.
There you go. That's Bengals legend.
Rodney Pete.
Rodney Pete. There you go.
Rodney Pete wasn't he a running back?
No,
Rodney Pete.
Rodney Pete.
No, Rodney Pete was a quarterback, number 9. The Lions, the Honolulu Blue.
He won me my fantasy league back in 1988, throwing dimes to Robert Clark. I had both.
Got married to Holly Robinson too.
Yeah, that's right.
Her name was Holly Robinson, Pete.
Holly Robinson, Pete. Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get into.
There's that other super chat.
Oh, we have the other super chat. Thank you.
Yes. From the other stream, so you won't see it on screen. But Sean,
we had an original stream that Lauren screwed up.
Wow.
That was me.
Wow.
And our guy Connor Smith, while we were waiting, dropped a super chat. We appreciate it, Connor. And it said, and it was a very Connor Smith super chat. Carlos Lee only drew 13 walks as a rookie in 518 plate appearances, despite an excellent offensive season, hitting .293, 16 home runs, and 32 doubles. He had a below average 94 OPS plus. Should make a rookie Carlos Lee.
Wow. What an El Caballo stat right there.
I love El Caballo.
He was awesome. And I wanted Twitter to be around in 2004 when Kenny Williams pulled the trigger on Carlos Lee after having his best offensive season in his career up to that point. I think he was like a 4-win player at that time. Kind of selfish, only cared about himself. For Scott Podsednik, who was like a 0.6 WAR guy, and Luis Vizcaino, another 0.6 WAR guy, and White Sox Twitter would have went absolutely apeshit. Trading a guy who was 28 years old, all that power, all that stats, all that production, and went on to go to I think 3 or 4 All-Star games too. So I like the actual winning of the 2005 World Series. I think made that trade good. But man, that was a lopsided trade.
I was in middle school at the time, and I had a good buddy who had just started following baseball, and he picked the Brewers. He picked the Brewers as his team, and so I believe it was the summer of 2004. We went up to a Brewer game in Milwaukee, and he bought himself a Scotty Pods Brewers jersey because that was when Scotty Pods was stealing all those bases for the Brewers.
Yeah,
and the day after the trade was made, he showed up with his Scotty Pod jersey with duct tape over the back that just said El Caballo on the back of it.
I started becoming a White Sox fan in like 2004. I was a Cubs fan, and then like Sammy had his whole bat corking situation.
Sure.
And they lost in 2003, which was heartbreaking. So I was like, maybe I'll try a different team. And that was the first year I went to a Sox game. They lost 12-2 to the Garrett Anderson Angels. So shout out to Garrett Anderson.
Home run derby champion.
But I know this might get me a ton of crap, but like Frank Thomas wasn't even that important to me when I was like becoming a Sox fan, because he played under 100 games in 2004 and 2005. So like Frank Thomas never was huge in my White Sox fandom. It was Mags because of Maglio. And
he was hurt also that year too.
El Caballo had a shit ton of home runs, and he was really cool. So like those were my guys back in the day.
Theoretically, if Frank stays healthy, Mag stays healthy, they're winning or competing for the World Series in 2004. Too, because Mags went out with a knee injury, and that's half the reason why they didn't re-sign him, because it looked degenerative. And then he went to Europe and got some weird ass thing, and got
those Dirk Nowitzki shots.
Started training with A-Rod back then. So
weird ass Minnesota Twins.
No, he went to the Detroit Tigers and kicked ass.
Yeah,
sorry, that was a reference to the.
Yeah, the CC Sabathia thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that team in 2004 was pretty decent, but they didn't have heart. And that's half the reason why Carlos really got traded, because he didn't take out a second baseman that he needed to. Back in the day, we could take out second baseman, and Ozzie did not like that. So traded for some guy named Scott Podsednik.
And then,
the rest is history.
Man, nothing like some El Caballo talk.
What if the White Sox traded like Andrew Vaughn for Ramel Tapia or something like that? What's the equivalent of Scott Podsednik?
No, it's what my trade was earlier. It was the Aloy for whoever, Jared Kelenic type of trade. That would be the equivalent.
Well, no, but
it was a little bit more.
Pods is, no offense to Pods, who did great things for the White Sox. Kind of a one-dimensional,
he was,
player with the speed, obviously, and the, so I think that's the correlation Sean is drawing there. Yeah. It's like trading Aloy for a guy Billy Hamilton.
Right. A guy who is going to be somehow fast, but also a defensive replacement in the perfect game of Mark Burley.
Correct.
Anyways, let's get into Christian Vasquez first. So Christian Vasquez is the new catcher for the Minnesota Twins. They agreed to a 3-year deal. Vasquez, formerly of the Red Sox and Astros, he will guarantee him $30 million. So Vasquez signs for 10 years or $10 million a year for the next 3. What do we make of Vasquez joining the Twins?
Good pickup.
I think
that's all I have to say on that.
I mean, you get a receiver that's pretty good, decent enough with the bat and with the glove that you're going to get a solid upgrade there in the Minnesota. I think that move probably is more effective for the Minnesota Twins than what Clevenger is for the White Sox, because of only pitching 5 days a week or one time every 5th start. And that guy will probably be their backstop probably 6 out of 7 days. Solid backstop. And if he can help the staff there, which is ailing, and get some strikes and some framing there, he's going to make that team a little bit better. It was a 2-WAR last year on B-WAR. Good, not great, but he also went on to win a championship with the Houston Astros.
Right. And I know there's not much to say about Christian Vasquez because it's one position of the Twins, but does it signal that they possibly might be looking for more? Because obviously they have Carlos Correa walking out the door, but he's not officially gone just yet. That door isn't closed. There's been rumors since Carlos Rodon's been a free agent, even after he left the Sox, that in that 1 year before he went to San Francisco, that the Twins might be interested, and they still have interest. So how dangerous could Minnesota be if they continue to add, let's just say, Correa only or, Rodon only?
I'd say this, they'd be getting better, right? And I think we kind of had a similar discussion going into last season about what the Twins had done and what the Twins were going to be. They go and make that huge move getting Correa. They brought in Sonny Gray, which was nothing to shake a stick at either. So, this is a team that has shown that they're willing to go out there and make improvements. And it might not be enough improvements to like elevate them to the status of slam dunk central favorite or team that's going to compete for the World Series. But if you're the White Sox, you don't like to see your opposition getting better, making your job a lot harder. And remember, we've been discussing the White Sox have been significantly knocked down from their status as the best team in the Central to a team that didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Currently, the Minnesota Twins are 21st in payroll for next year without all the adjustments for people getting raises via the arbitration. $49 million on the books. So they can spend the 65 to 70 million on Correa and Rodon and not sweat at all. They do that. I think the White Sox and White Sox fans are sweating because Carlos Correa, while he was on the team last year and he did well, the thing that always matters about the Minnesota Twins most is the health of Byron Buxton. Imagine if that guy plays 140 games one of these years, which is hard to imagine because he's never really done that. And then you do something to one of their weak spots as their starting pitchers, and you get one of the best pitchers in the game. And a lefty in that division, he's going to be unique because there's very few lefties in this AL Central. So when they're seeing him, he's already a top of the league pitcher. And then also there's no one really like him. You can't even mimic, there's no Mike Miners type of people that's like, oh, at least he comes from the left side. I can adjust to this. There's not a lot of that. So Carlos Rodon will be loving to come to guaranteed rate and shove it up the White Sox ass with that filthy slider, the fastball that's still up there in the upper 90s. So yeah, they get those two guys. I'm scared as hell. That is a scary, scary team.
Well, that'd be a huge offseason. Right. My goodness. That would be a Texas Rangers last year type of offseason, which of course worked out so well.
It would be like division defining if they got those two. But I do think that.
But would it?
Yeah.
I mean, they got Carlos Correa last year, and nobody picked him to do anything. Right. I'm talking even before the actual games were played.
I thought they were like the second biggest threat. I wasn't expecting Cleveland. I thought that if Buxton was healthy, the Twins could go after the Sox, and this was preseason, obviously, for the division. And then they continued to add at the deadline too. I mean, they went out and got Malley, they went out and got Jorge Lopez and bolstered that bullpen. They just never found that footing. But if Buxton is healthy and Correa does what he does, and they do have health in that rotation, I could see them being super dangerous.
And remember, Miranda came up he did some work. He did some damage. So his second year will be very
on the rise too, of course.
Yeah. Hopefully they trade that guy away. I hate him. Golly.
Well, and Kirilloff hasn't exploded yet, but he's a former
bringing up names that just hurt. And watch we trade for Max Kepler, and he becomes the guy that we've all thought he was, a straight bum, instead of the guy who's crushing Lucas Giolito for home runs every time he sees him.
But looking at their rotation, I think Rodon makes so much sense for them. Like if DeGrom's getting 5 years, 185, like I could see Rodon getting 150 or something around that. And Gray, Ryan, and Malley were all top 100 pitchers. Rodon's top 25 easily. And then you have Ober, who I know isn't
lovely. Illy Ober.
He's got potential. He's got big, long arms. Like I think that starting, he's 6'8",
Mr. Fantastic over here.
He sticks out.
Drops the ball to Vasquez.
But that really like sets up their
does the Space Jam, the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk. Yeah,
feels like that. I mean, that extension, top 100 percentile. But yeah, like I think if you have that top five of Gray, Ryan, Malley, Ober, Rodon, that's the best in the division easily. And Maeda's coming off Tommy John, so you'd have a starter level guy who could probably go like 2 innings, every 4 days for you. Like I think the Twins could be super dangerous if they do spend even just on Rodon alone.
And they'll still be in the lower half of the MLB payroll. So if they wanted to really, and they had a place they need to supplement with another free agent, they can easily do that. Because like I said, they're only at 50 million right now in payroll. They can spend and they can make this team a AL Central competing team and be comfortable and still probably be in the lower back and get some competitive balance tax too with it.
Well, and they spent money on Buxton, so it's like, what are you going to not keep spending? Like, why would you stop at a certain wall or something like that? Because Buxton hasn't played 100 games in the past 2 seasons, but he's been worth 4 WAR in both of those seasons. So, like, if you get 130 games from him, I mean, he could be, I think, division defining just because he's such a game changer. I mean, we saw what happened that one series ending game against Hendricks in Minnesota, where he just completely ended the game on one swing.
It hurt.
It hurt a lot because it went very, very far. But yeah, that I think the Twins, if they continue this momentum, they could be real dangerous. Guardians got dangerous as well. They signed Mike Zunino, a 1-year, $6 million deal. He is coming off issues with a thoracic outlet syndrome. So if you are familiar with the NBA, former first overall pick Markelle Fultz also had this issue, but it's an issue that pinches the nerve and blood between your shoulder and your collarbone. So basically, this just area is getting real tight in his non-throwing shoulder. So he's damaged goods, but in the past, he's been an all-star and a 30 home run power catcher. So Cleveland got dangerous because they're not having, Austin Malley back there this year. It might be Mike Zunino, who could be, huge.
And Hedges, but they pretty much got the same catcher who can't hit and is a good, framer. But as you said, it's a lottery ticket. Can you go back to 2021 and hit a bunch of home runs, Mike Zunino? Is that cleared? $6 million a drop of the bucket. Then it's a great pickup for them, but it's also a lottery ticket. It's a thing where it might hurt, it might help them, but it might not. It might just be a null and void thing. And they have a good catcher back there with Hedges who could just catch, and that's all he does pretty much. So if they wanted to go with that type of platoon, fine. But I don't see this as a big time deal or anything like that.
But
and watch Mike Zunino become Mike Zunino again.
As you know, you can't win the lottery if you don't play.
Yeah.
Jerry,
Somebody's got a lotto.
Rick,
might as well be you.
Kenny.
Yeah, Mike Zunino thoughts?
Not really.
Okay.
I think Herb's right. I don't really see this as a big deal, but the Guardians.
Hedges is a free agent. My bad. Sorry, they had to get somebody. No more Austin Hedges.
Yeah, Malley's not on the team either.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Listen, the Guardians showed us last year that you don't need to have a roster that scares anybody to play championship level baseball. And they were able to do that, at least when it comes to winning the division. If Mike Zunino or whoever the Guardians add to the mix this offseason buys in and plays the way that Terry Francona wants him to play, the Guardians are going to be dangerous again.
Yeah, a lot of issues with health for Zunino. 2019 only played 90 games, 2020 28 games, and then 2022 obviously dealing with this shoulder injury, playing 36 games. But the last 3 seasons, he's played 100, 136 OPS plus, 85 OPS plus, and 125 OPS plus. And even in that 2018 season where he had a below average OPS plus, still hit 20 homers. So I could picture the White Sox giving up bomb after bomb to Mike Zunino and fans complaining. Let's take a break here, and then we'll get into the big trade list. We'll go NL, then AL, and we'll try to figure out who the White Sox might be making a deal with this offseason. But we're very excited to let you know about Green Ridge Farm. Our guy, Mario Tirabassi, was cooking up his own lunch today, and I know Lawrence was jealous of the smell that was emanating from the kitchen.
Oh my God, it smelled delicious.
And he only microwaved it. You throw those on the grill, and
he could have grilled for us.
He could have. I mean, he's sitting right here. He's not doing anything.
Literally doing nothing till the Hawks game, which puck drops at 8:00.
Well, the grill's outside.
Have you
been outside?
It's fine.
It's cold.
Okay, but you're coming from Australia.
Grill heats up.
He's from Wisconsin.
Winter is terrible. It's winter outside.
Well, it is. But Green Ridge Farm isn't terrible. Chicago local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. And their all-natural deli meat, sausages, and famous meat sticks will warm you up in the winter. So make sure you throw these on the grill, throw them in the microwave like Mario did, or you could just eat them cold as well, especially their deli meat, where you can find that in the Jewels, Sam's Club, Costco, and your local Chicagoland grocery grocery store, meat dealer.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out their
You're
fantastic stuff.
going around the back of the Jewels to pick up like a bag of lemons or something?
Everyone's got a guy. When you work at Jewel so long, you
need those jalapeno cheddars. I got some back here. Take them to the back door at 4:00.
The Green Ridge Farm stuff is delicious because it's made from recipes in generations in the making and being all natural. They deliver a fresh flavor alternative at snack time. So again, check them out in the refrigerated section at Costco, Sam's Club, and your Chicago land grocery stores. And right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of meat sticks in your cart, those meat sticks will be free simply by using code CHGO at checkout. Greenridge Farm, simply natural meat. And we also love their mustards and stuff as well. So they just have great stuff if you're looking to make a great sandwich for lunchtime. We also want to let you know about ComEd. ComEd's energy efficiency program is committed to helping families and business in the communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. And an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz. That's powering BIZ. And if you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, call us at 1-855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative, and email business@comed.com or request an assessment online on our website at comed.com/facility assessment. But again, to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz. That's powering BIZ. Let's get into the National League trade partners here. And you referred to it as pie in the sky.
Well, I'd like to make a little a preface statement here. I think
please.
I do think as we go along this list, folks are going to see you've picked exclusively very good baseball players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost many of them, if not more than half of them, all-star level baseball players.
Hopefully conversation starters.
What I think I want to avoid doing, because we're going to spend time doing this, so we want this to be an interesting conversation. I'm not going to go and say, well, that's all unrealistic, even though perhaps it might be, given what we've talked about in terms of what the White Sox have to trade. That being said, the White Sox have come out and said they are not going to be playing in the deep end of the free agent pool this winter, that they are not going to be going after the big guys, the high-priced guys, the guys who you would count as a big splash in the offseason to make your team a lot better. The White Sox need to get a lot better. And so if they are leaning on the trade market to help them improve next season, we know they have a lot of faith that a new manager and a new coaching staff is going to lead to a lot of internal improvement. Yes, but what does Rick Hahn always say? Don't take anything off the table. Leave the door open. Listen on everything.
Open to everything.
Maybe a big splash on the trade market is not the most ridiculous thing to think of, because it's basically what they've said is their main, if not only, way to get the improvement that they need to get from outside the organization this winter. So while normally I would looked at, and what you said when I first looked at this list that you came up with, I went, okay, yeah, all right, have fun dreaming. But the more I think about it, maybe this is the area in which the White Sox would look to surprise, like they have made big splashes in the past in that we've discussed, like Grandal and Keuchel and Lynn, which was on the trade market as well.
And I think the main idea or main goal of this is just to figure out what list of teams makes sense to deal with. Like, should we be thinking about the Oakland A's as trade partners, or do they just not have a lot of things that make sense for the White Sox? Like when Rick Hahn gets a call from a GM, is it going to be a long conversation? Will it be an interesting conversation? Will they have a lot of different players to bounce off of? Like, we're just trying to figure out what deals are possible or what teams are targeted teams that Rick Hahn could be looking at. Like, the guys that I'm going to throw out here, definitely not, guarantees to be wearing White Sox uniforms.
Especially the first guy you're naming.
Well, I think we're going to go to the NL West first.
Yeah,
so we don't.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Who's the first? The first guy I don't think is Jake McCarthy.
Yes.
Why?
He's fourth in Rookie of the Year. He's 25 years old, had a pretty solid second year in the league. I know they have a glut out there in outfielders.
Yes.
They have a lot of outfielders, so they will trade somebody. But I don't know if it'll be the Jake McCarthy. But yeah, that team would be a team that you want to deal with because they have, like I said, the glut of outfielders that they have, and they would want to deal in a place of power and not have one of these guys just not play. And so, yeah, whatever they need, they think they can compete in the NL West, which they can't. They may want to make a deal. But Jake McCarthy, I don't think he'll be the guy.
Well, I would think that the D-backs would be looking to hold on to guys that they can have long-term over, because what Herb just said, you're not beating the Dodgers this year. You're not beating the Padres this year. So their best hope really is to wait and see if their collection of young talent can get good enough where they can add a little to it and beat those, or and compete with, I should say, those two teams. So maybe you're looking at somebody whose contract would be expiring a little bit sooner, someone who's a little bit, whose age or club control makes them not able to stick around for what I'm sure the folks in Arizona are hoping will be future glory days. Though the way the Padres and Dodgers are set up right now, I don't know if those are going to be coming in the near
Hey,
future.
our friends at PHNX, come on, they got a dream.
Yeah, well, the
They're
issue
probably
is
franchise, a lowly franchise.
yes, and shout out to Jesse Friedman for that one. Yeah, the reason why I bring up the Diamondbacks is because of that glut. Dalton Varsho is their best outfielder right now.
Yep.
Corbin Carroll, though, is their top prospect who is untouchable.
Alec
Thomas is also out there, and Jake
Homecoming.
McCarthy. Right. So like there are some players, and there's even in the AAA, it was a guy that I had who is Rule 5 eligible, Dominic Canzone, who's a left-hander who's like 6'4". Like they have guys even in the minor leagues. Like they have about 7 guys who are major league ready for the outfield. So yes, McCarthy had a great year, but that doesn't mean anything, I think, because as long as they like Corbin Carroll or Varsho or Thomas Moore, that means he's expendable, and that means they can probably get a good price for him. I think the biggest thing is maybe Varsho is the one that they want to trade, and I think that he is probably too expensive for the White Sox to get, because you hear the Astros are in contention for him right now, and I don't really know if the White Sox can outmatch or outbeat the Astros in a trade.
Well, I'll say this about young guys, and it applies to a number of guys that you have on this list. The White Sox would be trading who for these young guys? Like the young guys that a team that is rebuilding would want, you know what I mean? Like
right.
the D-backs are that rebuilding team or in that zone. Wouldn't they want guys like that? What are the White Sox giving up that is A, enticing to a rebuilding team, and B, how does that help the White Sox win this year?
Right. And the talk, I think, from Jeff Passan, like before the offseason even started, was if the White Sox were going to make a trade to be big league for big league. So
it would have to be.
If they're going to do Jake McCarthy, does that mean Lucas Giolito is expendable and they're going to move off some of the pitching?
But why in the world would the Diamondbacks want a guy who's about to become a free agent?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they do have Brett Strom, who's one of the more regarded pitching coaches. Maybe they think they could turn him into something, or maybe get him to a cheaper deal, and then see like, hey, if we can sign Lucas Giolito 6 years, maybe we can figure something out. But then maybe the Sox, I guess, go bullpen for the Diamondbacks, but they're not going to be that competitive.
That's what I'm saying.
So we'll probably put them on the lower end of possible trade partners.
Are they a no? Are they a no? Are we doing like Family Feud?
Do you think they're a no?
I think the glut of outfielders makes them interesting. I'm not sure if their GM's ready to deal. I wouldn't be dealing Dalton Varsho out of all those people. I will be dealing like you were, like McCarthy or Alec Thomas, especially the White Sox. You know, they would play big. You know, he's from here. His dad used to work here, whatever. But I would not be doing anybody on the White Sox current staff. I would be doing like Colston, Montgomery, and Ramos and type of things to see if they want to have that, like, so they can rebuild on the fly and have a shortstop of the future and a third baseman of the future.
You know, or maybe, or yes.
I'd say specifically with that player that you mentioned would seem less likely to me than had you mentioned a veteran.
But if it's an outfielder, you know, if it is, I mean, like that's the thing, is like the only other veteran that they have. I mean, Varsho is like the veteran out of that type, but the other only veteran they have really that's worth anything, I guess, is Christian Walker, who played first base. But you know, he's a great first baseman, but they already have Andrew Vaughn. Ketel Marte's been brought up as well, who could play kind of the outfield and second base, but he's been bad, and his contract's kind of
before last year, he had a down year last year. Yeah. He was a guy who looked like a very good trade candidate for a long time because club control to go along with the production.
All right, let's go to the next team here. We got. Yes, we're still in the NL West.
We're one down, 28 to go.
Jesus, we got like 20 minutes. Let's do it.
Right, you're going to have to speed this up.
Gavin Lux, second base. There was something that Rick said talking about the shortstop market kind of needs to unfold. And then James kind of pushed him a little bit and like, what do you mean on that? And he said, you know, if people miss out or in case, or maybe they have different thoughts, my idea immediately went to the Dodgers. If they don't get Bogarts, if they don't get Correa, if they don't get Swanson, if they don't get Turner, you know, maybe Gavin Lux isn't expendable, but if they do get one of those guys, maybe Lux is expendable and they have Muncy play at second base. Do you think this one make sense for them? Are the Dodgers a trade option for the Sox, even because they don't have a closer right now? Could Hendricks interest them?
I think so. That one makes sense. I don't know if Gavin Lux would be their guy that they want to trade off of, but getting Hendricks would be awesome for them. Maybe they're a little gun shy too because of the last trade for a closer from the White Sox. Didn't turn out that well, but this is a different pitcher who's still at the top of his game. So, yeah, I would take Gavin Lux, and I think the Dodgers would be amenable to talking about second baseman, maybe the Bush guy instead and some other people. But, yeah, Gavin Lux would be nice here on the South Side.
Dodgers always have depth, so I think they're one of those teams that probably would listen on everything just because you're probably not creating that big of a hole on their roster by taking really anybody away from it. Obviously, they've got some fantastic players on that team, not trying to minimize any of their impact, but just from a sheer volume of good players that they have out there in LA, it's worth calling them up.
Yeah, they have, I guess, 2 holes or 3 holes, I would say, in shortstop right now. They don't have, I think, their guy. It seems like they have a hole at closer and they have a hole as their 5th starter. So, I mean, Giolito could be an option. Hendricks could be an option. Anderson could be an option, but we know that they're probably not trading Tim Anderson. Hendricks, it doesn't seem like they're too keen on trading him. And then Giolito, we talked about it, like he's only got 1 year left. And do you really want to get rid of him if he could be your 4th starter? Because there's already enough question marks on that
his
rotation.
value's at his lowest point right now, too,
And
coming off of that bad year.
Relatively inexpensive for a starting pitcher, too.
Yeah.
Right, but does
what he does
that bump up his value then because he's only making around $10 million or something?
I guess here's my
Huge,
question.
yeah.
Did the Dodgers give up Gavin Lux for Lucas Giolito?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be that binary. I mean, they'll probably work out something.
I'm just saying. We're talking about the White Sox. Do they have enough to give up? You're mentioning a guy who 2 years ago was the ace of their pitching staff, but after a bad year, is he good enough to get you a very good everyday position player by himself? I don't know if he is.
And then that's the biggest issue with most of these trades is I have never really seen the trade market to be that fruitful just from what the White Sox have done recently and what they do have to offer. And Rick Hahn kind of showed that they don't have a ton to offer at the trade deadline. I don't think he wanted to be sitting on his hands at the deadline. And, he ended up sitting on his hands at the deadline outside of the Reese McGuire-Diekman swap. So I don't know. I don't think that it seems very tough for them to get a major league ready player. It just seems like a lot to ask for in the trade market.
But just like we believe in Ethan Katz, I think they believe in Mark Pryor. As you've seen the Tyler Anderson, the Andrew Heaney, these type of guys have turned their careers around with the LA Dodgers. So I would believe that they would say, Lucas Giolito was an ace somewhere, and we can bring him here into our lab and make him better than even Ethan Katz made him.
Possible. I trust the Dodgers machine over the White Sox machine. Let's go to the next player, and we'll throw 2 of these into the same group. Eggy Rosario.
What's your name for him?
E-Guy.
E-Guy.
E-Guy Rosario.
eBay.
Yeah.
E-Guy. Yeah.
Sure. Just like E-Guy Rosario.
Baseball Reference says Eggy, so I'm gonna go with Eggy, and I kind of like Eggy better than E-Guy. But Eggy Rosario, he's a utility player playing second, third, short. He's got a really great an arm. Everything else, his skills are basically about average. And then Zach Veen, he's kind of a corner outfielder for the Rockies.
Plays for the Bulls, right?
Zach, that a little. I think.
Thanks, Law.
Yeah,
That was good.
If Zach Veen's middle name is Law, then yeah.
Law.
So these 2 guys are younger, not major league ready. Rosario did have a cup of tea, kind of Lenyn Sosa style for the Padres last year, but guys that really aren't ready. I don't think Colorado and San Diego make a ton of sense for the White Sox just because they don't have guys that are major league ready that they would be really able to swap from.
Yeah, these guys don't jump out at me as the kind of guys that the White Sox need right now. If you get E-Guy Rosario, have you solved your second base problem vastly over the guys that they already have, or is it a question mark still that you still don't know what you're going to get? And the Rockies, I mean, they're another team, basically the same thing I just said about the D-backs, even though they spent a gajillion dollars on Chris Bryant. They're not in a mode right now where they are able, where that trade works with the White Sox.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I just don't like. The thing with Rosario and Veen is I just think that they might be too good. Like Veen is very, very good, former top first pick in 2020, top 10 pick for the Rockies in 2020. And then Rosario, he's 22 years old in 124 games in El Paso, where he's got a 4-year difference in that AAA league. He had an 876 OPS, 22 home runs, 34 doubles, 21 steals, and his walk to K ratio was about 100 to 59. So it's kind of, like it's a pretty good, strike to walk ratio. So like he's got a lot of promising numbers that I don't know if they want to trade, but also they just have Bogarts, Cronenworth, Kim,
Yeah, I mean the
Tatis, Machado. So
Padres will trade anybody. It seems it's just whether or not that gets the job done for the White Sox.
Could it be Hendricks for Rosario or something
You're
like that?
trading your all-star closer for a prospect,
but an everyday player that fills that hole, I think better than Romy or Lenin Sosa could.
Two things with E-Guy. 5'8", only $150. I don't like that. It's too slight. Just for comparison side, Lurie's like 5'8" and like 190.
Yeah, but you know who's also like that? Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, but he's a little pudgier. He's nice and pudgy and got a little base to him. And
look at this boy.
And
that's Jose Ramirez. He's wearing 11 too.
Yeah, but El Paso and the Pacific Coast League specifically
out in the West Texas town of El Paso.
Is a very, very hitter-friendly ballpark and league. So I wouldn't put too much into those stats necessarily because that league is dumb as far as hitting, and you're gonna get some people who are going to be hitting bombs that shouldn't be.
That's fair, but even in San Antonio, he only had 12 home runs, which is the AA affiliate, but he still had 30 home runs, and the OBP was still above 360. The slugging was always above 450. So, I mean, he's proven he's gotten power in many different areas. I don't know. Could be interesting.
He's just a guy.
Okay, final guy we're going to throw out there is Mike Yastrzemski from
New Yaz.
From New Yaz.
Not old Yaz, New Yaz.
And not other old Yaz. Not Red Sox old Yaz.
Well, old Yaz is
old Yaz.
Is
old.
His grandpa.
His grandpa.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this is either New Yaz or Young Yaz.
But who's our Yaz?
Just Yaz.
Yaz? Okay.
So I like the Yaz. Their new album's fantastic.
Oh, haven't checked it out.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to
Spitting Off the End of the World.
She's not Kim Deal. Who is she? Kim O?
Kim O.
Okay, there you go. Let's go to Mike Yastrzemski, though. They just signed Mitch Haniger. They have Jock Peterson re-upping.
Yes.
Mike Yastrzemski seems available, but he's kind of been average ever since he had his great 2020 season. Is that the White Sox market, though? Is he's not that expensive and not that good?
That's a swap for somebody who's had a bad time here and change of scenery type of thing. Like, oh, maybe get Yaz out of that San Francisco and that West Coast. He comes here and plays well, but he's not a young guy. He's like in his 30s.
Yeah,
so
31.
Yaz for Yaz? Is that what you're saying?
Man,
they won't do that.
I already hit the button. Yeah, because they could take that salary over there, and he would probably do well there. They would hit that ball in that gap and only get a double, though.
Well, that's the one thing that I think I would like about
coming after you for that one.
The one thing I like about Yastrzemski is his expected home runs by park. If you look at that compared to like what he's done in San Francisco compared to what he would do by StatCatch's metrics in the Sox park, 73 home runs career so far for Yastrzemski, 21, 10, 25, 17. If he played in Chicago for those past 4 years, he would have 98 home runs, 25 in 2019, 16 in 2020, 35 in 2021. And even last year, even though he was 96 OPS plus, 22 home runs, which would have led the team. So he might be cheap and affordable, but he also might be good, like for the White Sox, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an upgrade over what they have currently,
right, so
which is, a hole in left field. So
it seems like so far, Yaz is one of the guys that we can mark down.
All right.
I think we're only going to be able to do the National League today.
Oh, yeah, this is a two-parter.
Okay.
This
We'll
two-parter
save the
right
American
now.
League for tomorrow.
But I'll say this. If they get Mike Yastrzemski, does that mean Hawk has to come back?
I'm going to call a couple games.
To call young Yaz's games?
Is old Yaz still alive?
Yes, he's
believe
still
he
with us.
is. Yes.
Hey, I mean, maybe they could pair up Hawk and Yaz.
Oh, Hawk and Yaz in the booth together?
Hawk wouldn't be able to
mercy.
talk. I tell you what, I'm here with my favorite baseball player. Yes, I'll tell you what. Yeah, me, you, Rico Petrocelli, Reggie Smith, all of us went there. Jim Lombard.
You think Hawk buys his tickets on Game Time?
All the time.
Yeah. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. If you ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could, whether it be 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats at a concert, it is possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you never thought you could buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets. Hey, if you're looking for something to do tonight, there's a possibility of huge history in hockey taking place over, what's the address? The Madhouse. 1901 West Madison. Alexander Ovechkin is 3 goals away from 800 in his career. He would have to score a hat trick, but the Blackhawks suck.
Hey,
so,
come on now.
They're pretty bad. They allow a lot of goals. I was talking to Mario Tirabassi, who's been here since 8 a.m. he was saying that the Hawks give up a ton of penalties, and Alexander Ovechkin plays about 95% of the power plays for Washington. So if he's getting like 8 or 9 shots, Blackhawks aren't that good. 3 can go in. So
You got 2 of the best of their country history: Ovechkin, Russia, and Patrick Kane, United States.
there you go.
Right here in the United Center. It's awesome.
And you get to see it. It's created by the fans for the fans, and they guarantee the lowest price. So you can go see history for the lowest price possible. If you love CHGO, then you love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Vinnie is a very happy man because he just got his Shady Rays. They never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall or winter because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles cater to everyone and every lifestyle. I got nice black shades that really, I like the style. It's kind of the, you got a little metal frame here, right? And then like kind of like the bulkier, plastic part, but you got your white shades that fit your style. Herb got his classic.
You've got the like Michael Douglas and Falling Down, I think is what I would go with.
Haven't seen
Right?
that movie.
No.
Why are you looking at me for that one?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Isn't that style, right?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
All right. So, and how would you describe Herb's style?
Just they're called Venturas.
All right, Ventura.
Robin Ventura.
Robin
Right?
Ventura.
So,
There you go.
That's why I
no
got it.
matter your style, we all got 3 different shades, but we all love them. Also, 200,000 people have loved Shady Rays. Over 500.
These are some,
200,000.
These are some like you worked for NASA in the 1960s
Yeah.
sunglasses. Gotcha.
Yours
Kinda
look
though.
like those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but just
But
sunglasses.
yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But Shady Rays customers seem to agree that they are fantastic sunglasses, as they have over 200,000 5-star reviews, and they are just the best sunglasses that I ever own. And if you don't like them, Shady Rays offers free return and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay them to ship them back. That's it. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades. And our final partner, I saw Mark Carman and Adam Hogue decked out in their FOCO Bears gear. So Chicago, you've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams. So get fitted in the best sports gear around. FOCO has you covered from Soldier Field to the front room, north or south side. I made it be back with hoodies, slippers, signs.
None of this
bobbleheads,
living room
everything in
business.
between.
We live in Chicago. It's the front room.
It's the front room. Get decked out like DeMar with the apparels and leaders in sports merch and collectibles. FOCO, that's FOCO. If you're looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life, FOCO's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. So check out FOCO.com, again, FOCO.com, or click the link in the description below. And for all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. So if you're looking for a holiday gift, is it fall still or winter?
Fall.
Okay. All right. So this fall, if you're looking for a holiday gift this fall, go to FOCO.com and use promo code CHGO for all non-presale items. But like, it's technically still the fall season
Until like the 21st.
Yeah. Like the equinox.
Vinny, it is meteorologically, it is still fall or autumn, if you will. But we've got a winter coming on December 21st. It's the winter equinox and the shortest day of the year. And every day after that will be longer.
And that's
what are you going to play now, Casey? What's up next?
Damn it.
No, it sounded like Tom Skillet.
Damn it.
All right.
Call you Scam Tilling.
Pretty good. Let's go to the NL Central here. We got 2 more divisions to get in, and we'll do the American League
look
tomorrow,
at that first name,
which is great. Hey, I mean, tomorrow, we already have the show ready, so just show up with this.
Part 2 coming tomorrow.
Part 2.
We were only a third of the way through part 1. So.
Well, let's get through it. So let's start off with our outfield options, and we won't have to go team by team. Got Ian Happ, Tyler O'Neill of the Cardinals, and Ian Happ, obviously the Cubs, Tyler O'Neill of the Cardinals, and Brian Reynolds of the Pirates. How about we just play this game? Which of the 3, or how about you rank which ones would be the most likely to happen for the White Sox?
I don't see a lot of them as being super likely, but I think I'd have to go with Ian Happ, right? It seems like Brian Reynolds isn't going to go somewhere for a very cheap price. We'll say that.
The rumor is Soto-like package.
Yes. So that seems to be a tough one.
Yeah.
About the Soto-like production.
And the Cardinals seem geared up to be good now that they've got Wilson Contreras. I would imagine they would keep anybody that's going to help them win. The Cubs are kind of, I don't know what the hell the Cubs are doing, but they're moving in a direction of being better than they currently are, which is not really saying much, but Ian Happ, I would think, would be able to get them some stuff for the long term, right? But again, here we go again. the White Sox don't really have a lot of long-term things to trade.
Right.
So maybe the Cardinals are more likely because they're trying to win. The White Sox could trade somebody that would help them win. But do you want to give up anything you got, any of those big pieces if you're the White Sox for Tyler O'Neill? I don't know.
Yeah, the issue with Happ at least is kind of the Giolito thing outside of, he had a great season. It was just an all-star. I think was a Gold Glove candidate as well, but
won a Gold Glove.
He's a free agent after the next year. So I don't know if he would get a lot long-term, but you might be able to get two pieces and be able to play maybe a Brennan Davis a little bit earlier than you thought of.
Because my thought would be like, well, okay, if you were to trade the Cubs someone whose contract is going to be ending soon, what good does that do the Cubs?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they just signed Cody Bellinger. What good does that do the Cubs? So they're being weird.
Yeah, I at least O'Neill, it does seem like he would be their opening day left fielder. But O'Neill, Nootbaar, and Carlson are their current outfield, and Carlson and Nootbaar being about 25 and younger.
I like to go down to the 7-Eleven and pick up a Nootbaar for a nice midday snack.
His name is Lars Nootbaar. I would love for that man to be on the South Side. Not only does he have,
that's like E Guy. I don't know. Are these real?
Imagine if E Guy was Lars's brother, E Guy Nootbaar.
That's the trade I'd like to see. Trade him to the Nootbaar family. But I think O'Neill just being 27 might be expendable. He wasn't signed by St. Louis, so I don't know if they feel like he's super, a part of the organization, and they always have some guy that they're ready to call up and is ready to be an MLB guy. So O'Neill might be a trade candidate to sell, kind of mediocre on, but they might keep him for his opening day roster. The other two guys, we got Corbin Burns, and you could even put Brandon Woodruff in there as well. There's just rumors that they might trade one of their top two pitchers. I just picked Corbin Burns because I'd rather talk about Corbin Burns than Brandon Woodruff. And Nick Senzel, kind of opposite ways. Burns is so good. Senzel was supposed to be good, but hasn't really met expectations yet. But Cincinnati doesn't have a lot. So
Reds are trading everybody.
Yeah. So do you feel like Milwaukee is a viable trade option to get a starting pitcher? Do the White Sox even need a starting pitcher?
Need is not a thing. If you can get a Corbin Burns, you get a Corbin Burns. Graded Major League, awesome on psych. Oh, sorry, right. Corbin Burnson, my bad. He is a great
that one.
top-notch pitcher. So yes, you would have to give a lot to get Corbin Burns. I remember the rumors, and they were just rumors about Nick Madrigal and others going to Milwaukee before Corbin Burns had his breakout year in 2021. I would love to have him, but is that realistic? Probably not. Even though it looks like the Brewers are doing this kind of like gearing down / kind of competing. It's a weird offseason for them when they're trading Colton Wong away and getting Jesse Winker and Toro back, but not really pushing past that. Like, what's going on with the Brewers?
I think William Contreras deal.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And they got like the best player and didn't really have to give up anything in that trade.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. William Contreras, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's an all. They didn't really give up anything, and they got an all-star catcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be.
In that
he's
division,
got like 5 years of control too, so he seems Brewers.
And the Brewers are one of those teams that's they're always in the mix in that division. So I think they don't need to necessarily bulk up to contend for that division crown. Which makes me think that they're getting these guys that are upgrades. They bring in Winker, they bring in Contreras. Maybe they keep Burns and Woodruff and say, all right, you're the top of the rotation now. They just built around them a little bit, and maybe they make a run at the Cardinals for the division title.
Peralta?
Yeah. Peralta, Burns, and Woodruff. But if they trade one of Woodruff and Burns, like, do they become that like scary? And I do wonder too, like, they signed Yelich, but is Yelich like their guy? Like, would they ever trade Yelich?
He's not good.
Not good anymore.
He's been he's not good for the contract he signed, but he's still got an OPS above 107.
Yeah, but
that's like
his money.
The White Sox would take that.
His money's prohibitive, though. It's up there.
Yeah. What is it? 9 years signed through 2018. 9 years, 215. But that's still not that bad with all the deals that have been signed.
Here's what I'll ask you: Who gets you Corbin Burns? Who do you trade to get Corbin Burns?
I would think it would be like Colson. I think you'd have to probably include.
Keep going, yeah.
I'm gonna keep going. I think you probably have to include Lucas just because you give them a starting pitcher back, and it gives them the option to do what they like with him.
I'm in already.
And he's a major league guy that's ready. It wouldn't make sense to trade Cease. It wouldn't make sense to trade Lynn. It wouldn't make sense to trade Kopech. I think Giolito would make the most sense. I think you'd probably have to include Colas too. Like, I think you'd have to include the top two guys. Like, I don't think that, and that's the thing too,
It's been hit.
But I think you'd have to go more. Like, I don't think Montgomery, Colas, and Giolito is enough.
Maybe, but the
I
point
think they
is
could
that,
be beaten easily for Corbin Burns.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That not a question.
So that's why I don't trust Burns. Nick Senzel, that interests you guys at all? Just because he's like is it another lottery ticket?
That's like my Jared Kelnick thing. You want to get him on the team because change of scenery. Maybe he's just bad in Cincinnati because the atmosphere in Cincinnati is bad. We knew he was a big time prospect coming up, and he hasn't hit it yet. Like India hit at least 1 year. Senzel has not been the guy that they have been promised, and so yeah, get him over to Chicago. I would, it probably wouldn't even take that much.
Over 1,000 plate appearances. He got an OPS plus of 73. Yeah. So
not good.
No, not good. So, but that means he's probably cheap, which means, hey, come on down. The White Sox.
Is he better than Gavin Sheets?
Oh,
he's different than Gavin Sheets.
Like playing outfield.
He can play.
Sure.
He's different because he can play second base and is smaller.
Well, sure.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing is like he'd be a better defensive upgrade, but he's not going to hit home runs.
No.
And he really doesn't walk or get on base or do anything well with the bat.
Other than that, he's a star.
He's a star. Let's go to the final division here, and it's the NL East, and this is at least the headline here. Max Fried was rumored today on MLB Network by Jim Callis that if the Braves were to extend Sean Murphy, that maybe the payroll would be getting a little bit too high, and they wouldn't be able to sign Max Fried to a long-term deal. So would this offseason be the right time to trade Fried if you know that he won't be returning or be on your team for the long term, and you could get a haul to kind of keep this team going? So would Max Fried, former Ethan Katz prodigy and former teammate of Lucas Giolito in high school, be an option for the White Sox? Is it Burns-like, or is it even more?
I think they want to hold on to him more than the Brewers would want to hold on to Burns, because they're in a competing division. That division is the Mets and the Phillies. Spinning. You want to keep talent like that. And I would think you would have to throw some actual major league talent to Atlanta. They're not taking your Colston Montgomerys. They're not taking the Ramoses and the maybe, well, they already got an outfield, so they're probably not going to take Oscar Colas. So you would probably have to trade them some major league talent. And I don't know if that makes you better if you trade off a major league talent to the Atlanta Braves. I know they need a closer, right? But I don't know if that's going to get it done.
The Atlanta Braves are very capable of winning the World Series in 2023. It would seem very silly if they were to trade the guy who might be their best pitcher ahead of a year in which they could win the World Series.
Right. And
very silly.
I think there's an argument too. Fried might have been better than Burns over the past 3 years. 407 innings for Fried, 159 OPS or 159 ERA plus. Burns a 428 innings pitched, 156 ERA plus. So he might be the best pitcher in baseball. I don't know why they trade him away. But Jim Callis threw it out there. I didn't make it up. Right. Let's go to the other teams.
Also, if you're the Braves and you're like, should we spend our money on Max Fried or Sean Murphy?
Yeah.
Isn't the obvious answer Max Fried?
And unless
why is it like
Strider's your guy?
Well, but he's one guy. You need five.
Yeah, but we've seen like the Cubs really didn't want to make so many investments into their pitching. Like when they had their championship core, the only really investment they made was John Lester. And that was like the one thing that they wanted to do. They thought they could go out and spend and get.
Well, what about you, Darvish?
Do I have it mixed? I think they wanted to build the hitters. I'm sorry. They wanted to build the hitters and go out and spend
on free agency. Yeah, they didn't draft pitchers until late.
That's on me.
Max Fried, if he would come here, I could just hear the callers or the people who are watching. This Max Fried, that's what I call him because he got crushed today. You get it? I could not stand it. So no, let's not get him.
Lawrence was saying
for that reason only.
Yeah, Lawrence was saying we were saying his name wrong.
I don't know if I was saying that. I was saying they spelled his name wrong.
Oh.
F-R-E-E-D would be the way you should spell it.
Sure.
Okay, I got you. Phonetically. All right. If Max Fried's too much, if he's too good, what about Carlos Carrasco or Pablo Lopez? Then there was a rumor recently that the Mets could be shopping Carrasco, as they have, 5 pitchers who are basically over 30. And Pablo Lopez, he's a Marlin and good. So it's kind of like the Oakland A's. When you're good, you can't play on the team.
Yeah. The idea now of the White Sox adding another starting pitcher is very interesting because it comes down to what kind of starting pitcher are they going to add, because we're in now the position, or I should say the White Sox are in the position now that they were going into last year, which is they have 5, right? You obviously need more than 5 to get through a Major League Baseball season, but who do you convince to sign up, to be the sixth starter, to be someone in waiting that might take a bullpen role, that might go to the minor leagues. If you go out and acquire Carlos Carrasco or Pablo Lopez or any other starting pitcher, even, Max Fried in the dream scenario, and somebody gets bumped out of that top 5, what do you do with them? I mean, I don't think Mike Clevenger just signed to be a swing man. Well, I don't think Lucas Giolito is best served. You're not getting the most out of him by moving him from the rotation to the bullpen. You never should say we have enough starting pitching, because that's never true. They should always go get more starting pitchers, but it's a tough needle to thread when it comes to player acquisition, in which you're going to get your money's worth for a guy who and convince somebody to come aboard that might have a different kind of role.
And that's why I think Lucas would be included in most pitcher trades, just because what is the use of having Giolito on the team? Because if you got like a Corbin Burns, Pablo Lopez, he would probably be your 5th starter at that point, just because Kopech has that potential, and it doesn't seem like they're more committed to Kopech than Giolito.
Well, time. I mean, Kopech's under control for longer. My question is, go ahead and wipe the numbers away. Are you putting all your chips on Mike Clevenger over Lucas Giolito right now?
But if they're both 1-year deals, we know that the budget's a constraint. So Mike Clevenger's cheaper. I don't know if it's more about that, but they signed Clevenger for a reason. Right. So it doesn't seem like they're going to, Trey Turner, Padres select him and then deal him right away. Like, that doesn't make sense either.
No, it did not.
And I don't think Clevenger's signing to not be a starter.
Cookie Carrasco, I would take. Firstly, because the story is great. Overcame cancer, won the comeback player of the year in 2019. Yeah, probably in 19. And he was solid last year. He's a below 4 ERA, doesn't give up a bunch of home runs. He lowered his home run rate by a whole home run per 9, and is about 9 strikeouts per 9. So he's at the level you need him to. Changeup's filthy. He's been filthy ever since he's been a Cleveland Indian. Come back to the division that he's familiar with. I think he would be a great 4th or 5th starter for the White Sox, and probably available. Not making that much money. He's making about $14 million for a couple more years. No, for this year, and that's it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting more starting pitching. I think there is the idea of resource allocation, though. And do you trade perhaps the only guys that are going to bring you back a major league player for another starting pitcher when you need a second baseman and a left fielder?
Yeah, I think their plan is clear. It's going to be depth starting pitching. Like, that's why I thought Vince Velasquez made sense coming back, but he got a major league deal with the Pirates, so I don't think they wanted to bring him back for that price. But yeah, I think they'd be looking for those type of fringe players, and the White Sox need depth too. Like, this is something I talked about, like, even in August, and something I said at the end of the offseason. Like, they're just minor league rosters are very, very thin, to the point where Charlotte was throwing like 23 different guys starting games just because they didn't have the arms. So they need depth regardless. Like, they need to sign like 3 starters for Charlotte, and not even necessarily with the idea that they're going to make it to the majors, but just keep Charlotte kind of steady.
Our guy Matthew Cortez is saying Cueto. It's like, if we're going to get 35, 36-year-old
but he's going to be like
Cookie Carrasco, why don't we go get 36, 37-year-old Johnny Cueto? I would say it would be very, very rolling of the dice, and you're going to probably pay Cueto triple of what you paid him last year. He's probably going to make $9-10 million this year, which he should.
Got to pay for whatever the hell that was that I put in the Slack the other day, that van thing.
Yeah, the speaker van thing.
Yeah,
that was iconic.
Wild.
Man, wall-to-wall speakers.
Man.
So on opening day at the rate, they bring everybody in. They drive them in the trucks and the Corvettes. If Cueto is on the team for opening day, he rides in on a horse, right?
There's no way.
Well, I don't know. I mean, so let's look at if you can. I don't even know if you would be able to screen share this.
View it. Yeah.
Would you be able to pull that up?
It said view. You can hit the view button right there.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah. So I think the horse would be great.
Forget the speaker van. I want to see him on a horse.
The horse would
full
be great.
Baseball uniform on a horse.
The horse would be great, but I mean, let's look at. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that just screams like, have him sit in the back of this.
That's not fitting through the center field.
Well, they close it. They close it up.
Yeah,
you would unfold it on the field. Do you have any idea how long that would take? That's an hour and a half pregame ceremony.
No way. That has to be streamlined, right? I mean, doesn't it just like fold down? I mean, we're sharing it now from Hector Gomez, Johnny Cueto's new toy. I don't know how that works. I'm not gonna. I guess I shouldn't pretend how that works.
What, the speakers?
Yeah. Do they fold in?
Well.
No, but do they fold in?
Yeah, I think that part that's on top folds over itself and then folds back down into the like, I think where he's sitting down right there on the left. I think that part that's right behind him is the part that goes up and then folds out.
Crazy.
Mercy.
Yeah. Great sound system.
I don't need. I mean,
that or a horse.
It's very Fury Road.
Like, turn it
Definitely
down.
do
If I was
Fourier
going
style.
basketball, like, turn that down. I'm trying to listen to my own sounds.
Let's
Turn it, or what I always do, turn it down or play something better.
Yes. Since we're all listening, yes, please.
Let's go to the other teams. If we're not going to go with starting pitchers like Pablo Lopez and Carlos Carrasco, I got 2 more first basemen for you. The market's thin. Luke Voigt and Rhys Hoskins. The idea for Rhys is that Alec Baum would move to first base. Bryson Stott, who played shortstop for them last year, would move to third base, and Trey Turner, who they just signed to a $100 million contract, would be their shortstop. And Luke Voigt really wasn't supposed to be a national at all. They were trying to get that deal done with the Padres for Juan Soto and Josh Bell, and then they just kind of ended up throwing in Luke Voigt to get that deal done.
Yep.
I don't think Nationals need him, and it seems like they probably could. He's expendable.
You get either one of those guys, then Eloy Jimenez is your left fielder.
And is it worth it? No, because Luke Voigt is not that good. He can hit home runs, and he led the league in home runs in the shortened season, but I don't think that power is coming back, at least not consistently like he had with the Yankees. He wasn't that great with the Padres and was decent with the Nationals. And I don't know if you're going to be having DH Rhys Hoskins while you have left fielder Eloy Jimenez. That's not a good trade-off. Just get a better left fielder and have Eloy play the position that he's meant to play. Designated hitter.
I don't think I like Hoskins would be fun at DH, but I don't know if Eloy at left field would be fun. So yeah, I just, we're going through all of these trade pieces and teams, and it really seems like nothing stands out a ton, just because the major league part of this, going for a major league player, I just don't think the White Sox have the value to get that in a trade, just because their players' value was so shot by 2022. Like every single one of their players lost value in 2022, even though Eloy had a great 84 games. Like he lost position flexibility. I
would say this: they don't have a player that they can trade that makes the team whole. If they trade somebody for a major league player, they then have another hole in the guy they just traded away. So you're not really solving anything. And I think, again, we've talked about this a lot. They're kind of handcuffed, kind of boxed in. This is a problem. And I think they're probably going to be shopping for a different caliber of player than all the ones that you've listed here today. It has to be a major league player. You're right. But it might be of the Josh Harrison variety, just because they're only going to be giving up somebody who is not one of their top 2 prospects, and their farm system is not very deep. So there you go.
I'll make sure to conclude Tony Kemp for the Oakland A's tomorrow, if that's where we should be looking a little bit more. I'll try to tailor the AL list a little bit more.
You named another A.
Oh, I did.
Tony Kemp and Seth Brown. Man.
Someone, I think it was Nick on Twitter, formerly of Baseball Perspectives.
Nick Schaefer, right? Yeah.
I think I don't know. It's always Nicky Beeps or something. But he was saying, like, I don't even know after they traded Sean Murphy if I can name an A. And after the White Sox and A's played, I think I can name like their 1 through 9, just because the A's gave it to the White Sox last year.
Even though the A's, I think the White Sox ultimately won that series 2 games to 3 out of 3. Damn, Seth Brown hit a home run like every damn time. I was like, who is this person? And the guy who retired, Stephen Vogt, was pretty good for the White Sox. Man, I want them to trade somebody, not Tony Kemp. Please don't trade Tony Kemp to us. Trade us somebody who's actually good. Tony Kemp's had.
So we can't just name any A. It has to be a current A.
Yes.
I can't just go Barry Zito, Terrence Long, Johnny Damon.
Terrence Long's your second A that you just came up with?
Does Royce Clayton count because he played an A?
He played Miguel
Moneyball?
Tejada in the movie.
Does that count?
Which makes no sense. I mean, color-wise, it didn't. It's a little darker.
Yeah.
Miguel, and
Royce
much
is
stronger.
taller. Yeah.
And much stronger. Miguel Tejada, they come the holiday fall.
Yeah, he was
Great
a little
player.
bit more built out. Royce Clayton a little more lanky. But we'll finish and wrap this up tomorrow with the AL teams.
David Justice too.
David Justice, former A.
Moneyball forgot about all the pitchers
Yep.
that Vinnie was naming.
Exactly.
Mark Mulder, Barry Zito.
Look at what the A's did with this ragtag group of guys and the best 1, 2, 3 pitching in baseball.
This Scott Hatteberg is the story.
Mulder, Zito,
Tim Hudson.
Okay. That was the other guy. Was Chris Carpenter an A? Or
Was Harden part of that? Was he?
Rich Harden was.
He
a little
came
later.
along. He was next.
Then off to her.
Dan Heron was part of.
Dan Heron.
Look at us.
I throw 88. Dan Heron. That's his Twitter handle.
88 worked.
Yeah.
88 might still work in the league, but that's a different conversation. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox live podcast. We weren't able to see the comments today just because we were throwing a little bit of a curveball.
I mean, they were there.
They were there.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I'm blind and can't
Okay.
see the comments.
They're a very
Um,
small font.
We were
Sorry
throwing a
about that.
curveball today.
But hey, what it meant was no World Cup spoilers. We made it through the show without
Hey.
World Cup spoilers.
Hey, enjoy a little bit later on tonight. Hopefully you get the result that you want. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Lawrence Benedetto for helping us produce and getting the show off
I
the
guess.
ground here.
Yeah. It's 2 days in a row. I've really screwed up the show. I don't know.
Hey, it's not how
fine.
you start, it's how you finish, Lawrence.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We finished on top. So we'll talk to you tomorrow with more AL trade pieces for the White Sox to plunder. Talk to you tomorrow. Go White Sox.